I'm Kim Pryor, Director of Public Information at Rockingham Community College, and we're so happy to have you with us here today for the first segment of the 2017-18 academic year of RCC Talk. I'd like to welcome my co-host, Sally. We've not done this before, so we're excited about it today.
Very much so.
This is Sally Newman.
Yeah.
Sally is RCC's Director of Customized Training, and we're going to talk to some folks here today that we've invited, some faculty and industry leader. First, we have Ray Martin. Ray is Professor of Fine Art here at the college, and Cyndi Johnson is on our faculty for Computer Integrated Machining. And we're so delighted that Karen Baker could step over from Gildan Industries to spend some time with us. She is Operations Manager at Gildan. And so we want you to get to know our faculty a little bit, hear from our industry leaders, find out what we're teaching our students, and find out what our students need to know to be prepared for the workforce.
Yes.
So let's get started with Ray. Thanks for being here, Ray.
My pleasure, thanks.
Can you tell me just a little bit about how you came to be a professor here at RCC, your career path, what you're teaching?
Yeah, it's actually full circle. I remember going to community college one summer while I was at university and loving it, especially loving that word community. And I was at a private four-year school for 20 years before I came to RCC. I thought I was through teaching, but after a year of just working in the studio, I found to my panic that I really missed my college students. I adjunct taught at a few schools, and RCC was by far my favorite because the students here are very much like the student I was when I was growing up, come from very similar backgrounds, rural and excited about progressing through the world and in love with learning and appreciative in a way that I'd never been used to as a teacher before. I applied for the job and was, went through the rounds and impressed them enough that they decided to hire me.
Well, I've been in your classroom, and you really engage with your students, and they seem to be very fond of you, and it's a very open, pleasant learning environment. I think they have a lot of opportunity to express themselves openly, and that's a good thing.
Well, Kim, I will say that I've heard students say that they don't like to talk in front of people. And I say, if you do something in your life that you want to do, that anybody would want to do, it's going to involve a lot of talking in front of people, and so I encourage them constantly to be proactive in seeking out opportunities to share who they are and what they do and how they learn.
That's good. Well, Cyndi, you have been with us for a little while, not too long at the college, but you are a faculty member in Computer Integrated Machining. And how did you manage to come to RCC?
So I've been in manufacturing about 37 years. I started machining when I was 16, 17 years old. My father's a mechanical engineer and got me involved in it at that age. Went to Wake Tech Community College. And from there was a tool and die maker, worked in tool rooms for about 13 years. And I decided to take a leap and joined Caterpillar as a drafter. And about over 20 years later, went up through many different opportunities at Caterpillar. It was amazing. And all of them, I will say, I used my machining background in all of those career paths I had within Caterpillar. Decided to take a little break in January of 2015. There's something I've always enjoyed, training new hires, teaching folks in the facility about all different types of aspects of manufacturing. And I sent a resume to Sally for customized training, and she replied with, "Don't you want to be an instructor?" very quickly. And I wasn't very sure about that, but after I came out to the college and met with Chris Brooks, our director, our chair, I knew that it was the right place for me. As Ray said, it is a community field, and being from a company that is worldwide to a campus that is a gorgeous campus, and and everyone is so friendly and nice. I said, I think this is the place for me. So that's how I ended up here.
Well, that's neat. That's neat. Well, Karen, how did you end up at Gildan? I'm sure there's a short version and a long version. But
There is. Let me see if I can give you the short version. Actually, I finished my master's in 2007, and I was looking for a senior leadership position. And I had a coworker that I worked with previously at another company that was actually working at Gildan. I hadn't even heard of the company at the time. And I submitted a resume, and things just worked out. And here it is. I came to Rockingham County at that point, and Gildan has been a great company to work for.
Well, they certainly are a good industry partner,
They are.
and they do a lot to help the college, our students, and our community, there's no doubt. Well, let's talk about what happens in the classroom. Ray, I know you teach, you're a professor of fine art. Tell us what you teach, what it's like to be one of your students.
Well, I teach, I personally teach painting, oil and watercolor, drawing, art history, and a portfolio class, which is an interesting thing. It's sort of a segue from the 2-year experience onto Bachelor of Fine Arts. I think our goal, Mr. Harlem and I, is to create the kind of self-empowerment on the part of the students so that when they transfer, they're going to be better than the other juniors at the schools that they go to. They will have experience curating and designing field trips and exhibiting in places on and off campus. And so there will be a degree of maturity and adulthood that they'll have. And we've heard results from the universities that they go to that's true. They're more poised. They haven't just spent 2 years in the classroom making things, but they've learned how to present those things in a way that can communicate to the greater academic community who they are and how they think. I focus on teaching people to see perceptually, which is the key to being able to draw. At the start of the country, our leaders could all draw. It was as important a course as grammar was. And the ability to see perceptually, to draw, to compose and design and see how things fit within right relationship with each other, not only within aesthetic, visual context, but specific to their own lives too. To design their own lives is an important thing. And just like in technology, the definition of art is changing. Sometimes it seems like every few months, and so we try to give an idea of the history of art, what it used to be, what it used to stand for, and what it is and how it relates to the 21st century. And artists have always loved to play with technology. Give us your latest toys, and we'll use the creative process to find something to delight the world with.
Well, and you not only teach art history to students who may not be pursuing an associate in fine arts, but you actually teach students who know that that's their career track. But in the humanities area, you're in the classroom with students who might be in any program on our campus.
Absolutely, and some of my biggest success stories as a teacher over the years have had to do with those people that didn't become professional artists but became lifelong artful. I have a former student who was a star on the Walking Dead TV show. I have a student who's an award-winning journalist for Anchorage, Alaska, a fellow who does lighting design for Broadway theater musicals, successful teachers out there, graphic designers, and I've had many people, actors and journalists and so forth, write to me and tell me that the art courses that they took with us were the most cogent courses towards preparing them for the lives that they were going to lead. And so I think it's sort of you can think of it as vitamins of the spirit and the mind for whatever they want to do.
Well, Cyndi, tell us a little bit about what you teach your students, what it's like in your classroom, and what your students are seeking.
So my students are seeking positions within manufacturing more along machining. So I teach the manual machining. A lot of people think manual machining is going away. And there is a huge push of CNC, which is computer-controlled machines, and automation. but you will always need manual machining. So we start them out with manual machining because that teaches them the feel of the machines. So when they are running the computer machines and they're hearing things or seeing things, they have experience with it when they actually have their hands on it. So they're a year with me in manual machining before they really get into the CNC side of it. So of course when they come in, they've never run equipment before. Some of them may have run a drill press or a saw, but we're introducing them into turning and milling and things like that. So I really start out with the soft skill side of it to start getting them ready, because that is very, very important in really any career field. So they know that they need to get to class on time. We start time here. Things like that, the integrity when they make a mistake, hey, I did this. So we drive all that within the classroom. And they start out doing some pretty basic projects, but I push them along pretty quickly to start making some things that go together. Because in manufacturing, everything fits together. So like Ray does in his class, we try to teach them, how do you envision these things all coming together? And they have to have the ability to spatially visualize how this thing looks on a flat piece of paper, and now they're actually making it. So we spend a lot of time I spend a lot of time one-on-one, because the students all different, have different skill sets, come from different backgrounds. Some are naturally more mechanically inclined than others. So it's quickly trying to figure out who needs a little more attention. And we definitely give that to them because we want all of them to succeed. But we do drive a work environment. It's in the syllabus. This is what the real work world is like. And just start building those skill sets. And as they progress, again, we push them pretty quickly through there. Safety is definitely the most important. But when they start actually making things, and you see the look on their face, and they're like, I'm taking this to show my mom or my dad, you know. I have a son about the same age, and he could go weeks without talking to me. So the fact that they would want to bring something in and say, I'm taking that home, and they're so proud of it, that's when I know that I've kind of got them hooked in it. And then what are we going to make next? What are we going to make next? So that's what it's like in there.
Very, art, machining, but as you both have spoken what you do, I see the connection. And that creativity and that hands-on training that you are providing our wonderful students here. Well, I'm just going to move on to Karen Baker from Gildan. Thank you for agreeing to come to the show. So just tell us a little bit about Gildan. One thing I do know, they are a big community participator here in Rockingham County. So tell us about Gildan.
Okay. Gildan has been in Rockingham County since 2000. Our distribution center in Eden currently employs 512 employees. We're the second largest manufacturer by employment standards and employment counts within this county. So we play a big and a significant role. So as leaders in a community, we also want to make sure that we take the time to give back.
Yes.
We participate with United Way. We're very much involved in the YMCA, the Chambers of Commerce throughout the county, and we try to help out at the community college whenever we can.
Yes.
Gildan is a global apparel company, one of the leading companies in the apparel industry. So our products range from T-shirts to sweatshirts to underwear and socks. We sell under different brands. One thing that our company has done is grown through acquisition. So here in Eden, we distribute products under our Gildan brand, our Anvil brand, our All Style brand, as well as our Comfort Color brand. Okay. We have additional distribution centers within our printwear division that also will distribute American Apparel product as well as additional All Style products. We also, with our retail division, we have socks and underwear, and they go under the Gildan brand as well as PEDs. You see, the Gold Toe brand is very popular, and we also have Silks and Secret. Those are like more of a hosiery companies.
Wow. I know I was in Charlotte this weekend and saw that famous Gildan box, and I'm like, I know that
That's
company.
Gildan. The
Yeah.
white box with the blue logo.
Definitely.
That definitely has given our company a name.
Yes.
That white box stands out and it attracts the attention of
It
consumers.
does. Very much so. And Karen, so how long have you been in your position as the operation manager?
I've been with Gildan for 10 years now. I've been the operations manager for 4 years. Prior to being the operations manager, I was the assistant operations manager.
Okay. Now, is Gildan, is this your first manufacturing company that you worked with?
No, this is actually the second company that I've worked with. I've actually been in distribution for 19 years.
Really?
The first company I worked for was Newman Incorporated, and that was in Kinston, North Carolina, which is Lenoir County.
Okay.
And that's a faucet manufacturer. But being within distribution, distribution is key to your supply chain. So your product is manufactured, but then you still have to get it out to your consumers. And so distribution is very key, and a lot of people don't know a lot about distribution, but that is sometimes the end of the process, but it's a critical piece of the process.
Yes. You said earlier that you have your master's.
Yes.
Now, did you get, because I remember Cyndi and I used to be in the same office, so we talked a lot, and I know Cyndi, she was in manufacturing, then she went back to school to start her career, move up the leadership ladder. So did that happen with your?
Yes, my story is very similar to Cyndi's. Actually, when I went to college, I actually thought I wanted to be a doctor. So that's very far stretch from, leading a distribution center. So I actually, once I graduated from a 4-year program, I actually took time off because I was studying for the MCAT. But at the same time, I had bills that I had to pay. Yeah. So I actually started working, and that's how I started at Newman. I actually started as a temp. So I thought, hey, I'll just be here for a couple of months to take care of this and move on. But what happened is I realized that business and manufacturing and distribution is actually a career choice that I had never explored. Right. So it gave me that opportunity to have a close-up look at an industry and actually see that, hey, I can thrive in this industry. So I do have the skill sets to be successful in this environment. And just like Cyndi said, if you want to move up to the senior level, then, hey, you need to have some type of degree or something that gives you that leverage. And so then that's when I went back and actually got my master's.
Okay.
So that I could move up within the ranks of the company.
Well, let me ask you this, the community college. What role do you see the community colleges in any area playing? How can we make that connection with the manufacturers?
I think it's key. Like definitely when you have associates taking manufacturing classes or things like that, actually allowing them to have exposures to the industry within your community. I think a lot of times students, they are not familiar with the options in their county.
Right.
So then, therefore, I think, just like Ray said, you have students that launch out and they branch out. They might go to a 4-year program that might not be in the community, but you want to be able to keep those associates staying within your region and your area. So if they have that exposure, they know what opportunities are in their own specific counties, then you're more likely to retain them within those counties. Skills that I think are important that the community college could actually teach and train. Communication, that's a big one. She mentioned integrity. But just as simple as, like she said, time management, just understanding and learning that, hey, you have to be there on time. Yes. They're counting on you to be a critical part of their operation, and you have to be present. Right. And you need to be on time. You need to be prepared to work. Another thing that Cyndi mentioned was accountability. Mistakes can happen, but be held accountable for your actions, own it, and then you go from there. Another skill, networking, is very important, as well as your attitude, problem solving, critical thinking. Yes. There's several things, but to make that well-rounded associate, you at least need to start with a few of them. So then that gives that industry employer something to work with.
And I was just thinking when Ray was speaking, he was talking about this, drawing, composing, the aesthetics, and to me, critical thinking came to my mind. And definitely critical thinking when they're making that first piece on the machining side. So that's critical thinking as far as how are you going to produce what the instructors have asked you to make. So, Ray, if you can just sort of go back over that critical thinking piece when you were saying you give them something they have to draw, compose.
Well, actually teach the creative process and teach that through a book I read from the business world. You know, Thomas Edison said, I was thinking about Cyndi saying this, that genius is 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration. And movie director said that 90% of life is showing up.
Yes.
And so we, you know, teaching people to show up and how crucial that is and to be dependable. But there's these sort of 4 stages that I think are really conversant between our fields. You define the problem. You collect data in order to be able to solve the problem. You ruminate on it. You stew on it for a while. An aha moment comes. But you're not through with the aha. You have to, then comes the 99%, which is execution.
Yes.
And which involves stamina. And that's when it starts. At the end of that day is when you've actively participated in making, like you said a while ago.
Yes. And I think it's interesting how Cyndi said that work environment is in the classroom, that being on time, that completing your assignment, that the your operation manager is going to give you. So that coincide with being in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And that's very important. And I was thinking also when Karen was saying we were talking about the logo of Gildan, well, someone has to create that logo.
Art pervades everything.
Yes, yes. So we're looking at 2 different spectrum, but yet and still they merge together. All the careers that students can find in the manufacturing, because it's just not about being on the floor. It's about being the accountant, the creative designer, and there's so many more. Because when I go into the companies, I'm passing office after office before I even get to the production floor as well.
Well, you know, I have to ask this question, Sally. Let's face it, women haven't always been in the positions that you're in.
Yes.
And so I would like to hear from each of you a little bit about advice you would give to young women who may be interested in a career that's similar to yours, that over the years, you know, it's been pretty male-dominated, and just maybe challenges you faced or just some good advice.
Cyndi, I don't know if you want to go.
I'll let you start.
How do I say this? First of all, I would tell any person, female or male, that if there is a career aspiration and there's a dream that you have to pursue it. You know, the one thing that you can do, if you never try, then you already have failed.
Yeah.
So you have to at least step out there and actually try. One thing that you should do is learn. If there is something that you desire, there's a career choice or career path, learn as much as you can about it to make sure, hey, that is the right fit for your personality or for what stage you are in your life at that time. But I will say, just launch out there and pursue it. Yes, you might be the only female in the boardroom, but hey, you actually cracked the glass ceiling and you're there. So you have to try.
Absolutely. So for me, I'm a little older. I'm a lot. It was instilled in me by my mother. She put a sign in my hand one day when I was really young, and it was the ERA sign, and I was marching for the equal rights. And I said, "What is this?" And she said, "It's your future. Just walk and hold it." And I'm like, "Okay." And she gave me the confidence.
Yeah.
And I would say, definitely second the comments that from Karen. If you have a dream you've got to go for it. You're going to be working a long time, and you
Yeah.
really need to enjoy
Yeah.
what you're doing. And what you start out doing is probably not going to be what you
end up,
finish
yeah.
with. And that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, we all change. Manufacturing, there was a time when women were in manufacturing. That was World War II. And the big sign of Rosie the Riveter, because we had to go into the factories, and then all the men came home, and they put us back in the house again. So we kind of got a taste of that independence and kind of liked it. So I think we did. So some of the things I have faced is you're here, you know, you're getting a promotion because you're a woman. No, I'm getting a promotion because I've worked very hard.
Yes.
So making sure, like to Ray's point, you have to be able to vocalize, this is what your successes, this is what I've done, and be able to promote yourself. And there's a fine line with doing that, because you know, there's the workplace environment. You don't want to be the one that's always just, you know, your own cheerleader, but you have to make sure people know your accomplishments. You set your goals. These are the things I did. So having confidence is huge, and being open and collaborative. Manufacturing can be a very aggressive environment, and you have to be able to stand your ground, look somebody in the eye, you know, square off your shoulders somewhat, and that can be uncomfortable for some women to do.
Yeah.
But once you start getting the hang of it and you gain their respect, that's the hardest part. I think for me it was. Once you gain their respect, then it kind of goes easier. It is a challenge almost every day, I think, for anybody going into manufacturing. But you can, once you've kind of proven yourself, and this is unfortunate, women tend to have to prove themselves a little bit more.
Right.
But once you understand that, and you do it, then your career just starts to go. But you work very, very hard for it.
Can I participate as a non-gender member?
Please.
Please do.
Because I realized one day in college that my fantasy heroes, Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, and so forth, were men, but the people in my life that had functioned as nurturing heroes for me were women, including my mother, who spent a career in manufacturing. She worked for Proctor Silex, among other things, spot welding and doing every job in the factory. And she simply accepted the fact that she had to and wanted to be better at any of those things than anybody else that did it. And that is there is a place in the United States of America for merit. And I saw a poster one time that said a woman has to work twice as hard for twice as long to accomplish half as much as a man. But luckily, that's an easy thing to do, you know. And I think that if you ask me how many female students I have versus how many male students I have, I would never be able to give you an answer to that. And we look forward to the kind of world where that sort of identification is dysfunctional.
That's true what Ray said. I will tell you that just at our facility here in Eden, only 30% is women, is female. And I think a lot of times confidence, like Cyndi said, and along with what Ray said, is key. And that's in any venture that you take. But I think there's also just knowing what is available, the opportunities that are there for you, I think is very critical.
Yes.
I think that, you know, just to sort of wrap things up a little bit, I think that the community college sets the tone perfectly for young men and young women, regardless of their goals. And maybe they don't know what their goals are, but I think that they can come here to the college, whether they start out in art appreciation or they jump right into something that's a vocational trade. They can learn about who they are.
Yes.
They can gain the soft skills they need to be successful and to present themselves well. And when they've got folks like you guys in the classroom every day, it tells me they're mighty lucky. It's a lot to take advantage of here. It truly is. appreciate your time here today.
Thank you.
I have to shout out about the college a little bit. We all know at RCC that regardless of your educational goals, we'll start wherever you are and we'll help you get wherever you want to go.
Yes.
Manufacturing Day here on campus is going to be October 5th. There's going to be a morning session, an evening session.
Open
We
to the
want
public.
parents, the public, students,
Everybody.
everyone to come out and
Yes.
learn about the jobs that are available.
Definitely.
Um,
Talk to the manufacturers one-on-one, see what type of products that are made here in Rockingham County. And
That's right.
I've even had some companies outside of Rockingham County asking to be part of Manufacturing Day. So I'm
So
very
that-
excited.
That's October 5th, and we're almost ready to start registration again, believe it or not, for spring and summer, so it's not too late to come and talk to admissions. But just remember this, at RCC, you start local and go far. Thanks for joining us.
Eagle Pride.
Thank you.